to speak to everybody today specifically, and two, and again, we'll say this, as we go on board, but it's great having someone who's going to be a part of the program, really speaking to our audience today. And, and you've led program sessions before and you've led coaching cohorts before. So like it's just such an awesome opportunity to speak with you today. So good, good. Well, Evan, it's just past 12 o'clock, and I think we may be streaming. So I just wanted to say hello. Thank you for being here. Welcome everyone who may be listening from lunch perhaps during lunch today. Good afternoon if you're on the East Coast, and good morning if you're further west. We're glad to have you. This is the second episode, per se, of our four-part series in the lead up to the Gail Perry Group Major Gift Officer Boot Camp. This is a 12-week virtual training program. It begins on Wednesday, September 16th. It runs through Wednesday, December 9th. We have a day off for the day before Thanksgiving at the end of November. And this series that will again take place virtually, it will take place live over the 12 weeks. It occurs on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. This program is an opportunity for both individuals and teams to register. We have a cohort model that is really reflective and intentional around whether you come individually or with a team. You'll get really great time interacting with some of our consultants who are running the program, administering the program, and you're learning both from our experts as well as from each other. So that is our baseline. As I said last week, I'm going to repeat that. But we're so excited to have individuals on the call, teams on the call who are potentially interested in registering for the Gail Perry Group Major Gifts Officer Bootcamp. As the series goes on over the course of 4 weeks, my name is Jen Herrmann. I am Vice President for Business Development at the Gail Perry Group, and each week I have a different co-host. And this week I am honored and pleased to welcome Evan Northup. Evan is a CFRE certification. She is a senior consultant at Gail Perry Group, and she is one of our MGOB co-hosts and cohort coaches. Evan. Too much alliteration. But I'm so glad to have you here today. As anyone who would have been here last week, and Evan, I know you listened in, we had Cassie Rice, COO at the Gail Perry Group. Cassie made the business case for training the full team, for registering from leader to leader, from key decision maker to another, those who manage the budget. Casey really honed in on making the case for team training. Today, again, whether you're an individual or a full team who may be interested in the Major Gifts Officer Boot Camp MGOB. Today we're making the case that one of the clearest indicators of major gifts performance is whether donor portfolios, those portfolios that are managed by your major gift officers, whether they're actually moving. What we know from experience is that the issue is not effort, typically, right? Everyone comes into a job, they want to do well. It's not about effort, it's about focus. And Evan, you and I both know what an effective tool portfolio is. So let me take a breath. Evan, welcome. Welcome. And any preliminary comments that you have about really just sort of the point of this discussion in the context of MGOB.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. I have had such a great time leading cohorts in some sessions over the last couple of years, and so excited to get back into it this fall. One of the reasons I love this topic so much is portfolios really are the bread and butter of how we do daily operations and fundraising. It guides so much of our work. It helps us set achievable but stretch goals, but also really make sure that we're keeping on the right pace and on the right track. And it's a really great barometer. But again, as Jen mentioned, it's one tool in the toolbox that really helps shape our work.
Absolutely, Evan. Absolutely. And I love that like so many of our consultants, you can speak to this so effectively because of the experience that you have both working with our clients, all of the clients, being one of the leads to our training programs, such as MGOB, and from your experience in-house. So I know that your background includes annual giving, major gifts, capital campaigns, strategic assessment, and planning. For everyone listening, Evan also brings deep nonprofit technology experience, and has previously led development for the Foundation for Philanthropy at AFP International, and that's in DC, as many of us know very well. So again, Evan, just being able to speak to this topic from all of those positions, all of those angles, the depth of your experiences is just so valuable today. So, you've really just spoken to what you just shared with us is what a portfolio can do for the team. Are there, building upon that, are beyond what you've already shared, are there any common misconceptions that fundraisers may have about a major gifts portfolio that specifically when we're going to be touching on during MGOB?
Yes, I really want to start off by saying portfolios, again, I really do think are the backbone of the work we do. But it's really important for you, and sometimes you have to manage up when making this point, that a portfolio isn't a list, and it is not a list of checkbooks either. I know checkbooks is an antiquated term, but it really is the best one I could think of when we're talking about it's just not a list of people that you can get money from. That's not how it works. It's a pipeline that has to be developed, that you have to be very intentional about. It's always in motion. A pipeline is always moving. One of the things we'll talk about during sessions is I always like a 30-30-30 split, 30% discovery, 30% cultivation, 30% solicitation, 10% in stewardship. So it's actionable data that you're constantly working, and it really requires that intentionality to propel it forward. As we also said, of all the tools in your toolbox, a great portfolio has well screening to back up that data. It's very important. Well, screening is something that sometimes leadership and boards can get stuck on because they say, oh, that's incredible. They can give $500,000. That doesn't mean that they will. So, well, screening is really about who can give. It's not about who will give. So, an inclination, access, readiness, all of these are the real qualifiers that, again, are so important when you're building your portfolio out. Another point is bigger isn't better. Relating to well screening, we can come back with 500 new major gift prospects. That doesn't mean your portfolio should be 500 people. It needs to really be an accurate assessment of the work that you can put in within one calendar year or 1 year at your organization. A bloated portfolio is only going to stretch people out. We know that turnover is a very serious issue in our industry. And so we aren't advocating ever for a portfolio to grow. It's a pipeline that continually feeds itself with things like well screening as another tool in that toolbox. So, portfolio management and fundraising are really the kind of same thing, right? It informs each other, and the strategies help move all the moving parts forward.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And oh my gosh, we could be here for much longer than 15 minutes because the things that you're saying, right, now we start digging into some of my favorite topics, which would be disqualification of prospects
Mm-hmm.
and as a key element to portfolio management. If you've ever heard me before, that is like my favorite topic. So disqualification, and we get into that a little bit in the training program, but that's an important element to, as you said, Evan, keeping those portfolio sizes manageable, looking at portfolio as that prioritization tool. And then I think we as a firm, we as consultants, I know that in the work that I've done with our team, with many of our current consultants, and what we'll have the opportunity to get into during the cohort coaching sessions is some prospect strategy, right? So it's just to the point that you've just made is, what is portfolio management? It is moves management. It is from discovery to cultivation to solicitation. And how do you know what to do with each person? That is the prospect strategy. So it's right.
Yep.
It's taking the process and making it personal. And that's what MGOB does in the 9 weeks of content delivery and in the 3 weeks of cohort coaching, where teams can bring their challenges and their scenarios directly to the cohort coaches. Right, Evan? That's
Yep.
right. Yeah, that's been your
Absolutely.
experience.
It's one of those things that we really apply to both clients who we are working with on a regular basis and in our coaching sessions is really making sure we're talking about the same things. And just to your point, Jen, disqualification is something I constantly have to talk about with our clients and our coaching calls because that's a key indicator of where your time has gone. And if you
Yeah.
aren't tracking that, then you're not really taking into account the time that you spent to properly qualify those people if they're going to be real prospects or not. And that absolutely is important when you're looking at all the things that you have to be cognizant of.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Evan, that kind of brings me to something that I know that we've talked about before, which is sort of this idea, as a leader, maybe, as the manager of the frontline team or as a senior member of of your nonprofit, what are some metrics for truly managing and monitoring genuine portfolio movement? Like, right, you know what I'm saying? We've talked about the
Yep.
stages, right? Discovery, cultivation, solicitation, stewardship. Um, but could you speak to some ideas that you have around, what is the actual activity? I think is what my question is, Evan.
Absolutely. We're just talking with a client who had instigated weekly KPIs about how many meetings and how many phone calls.
Ooh.
We said, no, 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 no. Let's back this up. The question from leadership we really want to be seeing, and one of the things we talk about, especially as we're talking about culture, philanthropy, and growing all of that, is don't ask how many touches per month. Ask about movement. What did we learn? What did your team learn when the conversations that
Mm,
we're having? Who was changing out? Who was possibly disqualified or qualified? What are the next moves? If you can look at your portfolio and you have last moves of a great intentional touch point that's mapped out, that's great movement. So basically, what we really want to see in portfolio is simply that there are things happening, less
mhm,
than volume, it's quality. So
mm.
that's something we really always need to see. And then also sometimes you have stalled prospects. I just want to stop here for a second. We all have.
Not
You have a
unusual.
prospect and it's a great strategy and you feel wonderful, and then they put you on the back burner, or they tell you to talk to them in a few months, or you can't reach them by communication. This is a really great opportunity, especially for leadership, to say, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to re-strategize. We're going to figure out different ways to contact them or to bring them in or to spark their interest, or we're going to table them for now, which is totally fine to do. Not everyone needs to be a priority. You can't have everyone be a priority. So sometimes you back burner them. We talk a lot about this on coaching calls and in some of our sessions. And sometimes you cut them. Sometimes you disqualify a prospect, and that's not the end of the world. But again, make sure you're tracking all of this, because that is just
Yep.
as valuable. That is knowledge that you have about where this donor or prospect is, and that is very valuable situations that you need to know about. So activity isn't just about progress. 10 check-in emails that you sent out in spam is not as good as a really one great
Hmm.
conversation that
Hmm.
someone had. So
Hmm.
really, again, it's the quality instead of the quantity that we want to be looking at for leadership when it comes to portfolio reviews.
I love that. And every gift officer who's listening knows the word substantive, right? Was it an unanswered, sort of broad-based email that went out? Does that count? Or are we talking about a substantive exchange regardless of the what word am I the mode of
Yep.
transportation is sort of what I'm saying, right? Whether it was an email, whether it was a telephone call, and that's been a shift in this virtual world too. We all know early in the COVID pandemic, we were able to still get a lot of substantive activity, but it was a big our shops were traditionally saying if it's virtual, it doesn't count. It has to be an in-person donor visit. And then a shift had to occur. And I think we as an industry and we as gift officers have really learned, how you can have substantive movement in a relationship through more than one mode, more than just in person. But again, we got to be really intentional. And as leaders, we want to make sure we're uh, really, really conveying to our teams the importance of ensuring that, this is about the relationship. Just because you reached out and you checked a box is not substantive.
No,
So
I really like to use the word meaningful when it comes to relationships. And I'm a
great.
huge believer that every time that you are engaging with someone, you can move that relationship forward or you can move it backwards. And I know that we just got a question from Adriana. Good well screening tool. So Gail Perry Group is really happy that we've been partnered with Donor Search for a very long time. As Jen mentioned, I have worked in tech in the nonprofit sector. I personally find it is the most useful tool, and it also is really great integration with a lot of great CRMs out there. So that's the one that we use. But again, well screening is a tool,
Yeah.
and it needs to be utilized as actionable data that you can then utilize. And so you don't want to just don't over rely on well screening.
Mhm,
use it
mhm.
use it as use it as part of your larger strategy.
Yes, yeah. I like to think of the results of the wealth screen, like any type of wealth screening is, right? That's a guide for you. Again, it helps give, it's an indicator. It's one of multiple indicators. But even when we work on wealth screening and data analytics with some clients, typically some consulting clients, right? We're really taking into account the broader picture, some of the qualitative data, some of the quantitative data in terms of what is their giving history to the organization, what is, anyway, that's a whole nother topic that we could touch on. But yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. We like donor search. So, but Evan, to that point in your background in some technology areas, how, in your opinion, how can technology improve portfolio management without turning fundraising just into a data entry exercise? I I will go down in history, right? Good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out, right? Like we know there's got to be good, reliable data. But talk to us more about, it's not just about data entry. How does technology
No.
benefit our work in portfolio management?
So if you've ever been a client or on the cohorts before, you'll have heard me say this before. I once had a terrible boss who said, if you got hit by a truck tomorrow, would we be able to know what's going on with all your donors? I've
I've heard
changed that. I have
that.
changed that to, if you won the lottery tomorrow, would someone be able to pick up and know exactly what's going on? Data is useless if it lives in a box. That is not where we are in 2026. It's not where we've been in a really long time. Data really needs to be something that you can make actionable. And by actionable, we mean that can really be a help in terms of how you do strategy, how you think about how you're going to spend your time. So you really need to sort of create tech to be a support system to what you're already doing. So it's really not about creating something static, and dashboards are wonderful. I love them. I love how they look, and I love the reporting that you can pull out of it. But make sure that whatever tech and data you're using your CRM is helping you achieve your goals. What reports do you need to constantly be aware of? What data do you need to be able to pull? A great example of this are Libunts and Sybunts, right? It's the question of when during the year do you want to engage with previous donors who might be part of your major gift portfolio, but just need a little bit more time. Making sure that what your CRM and tech defines as something is really important. You also want to be able to do things like move someone to the back burner, but not eliminate them from your prospecting list.
Yes.
And
Yep.
technology can play a really great role in that, but you need to be careful about the language that you're using when you're setting up your tech to help you. Um,
Yep.
Also, just internally, what does qualified mean for you? Right? We have the same conversation. We're saying, what's a major gift threshold for your organization, right? You just need to define what it means for you as a team, and then your tech can help support that work as you're doing it. So it really just needs to be that you are one, log things in your CRM. I beg you, I beg you, I beg you, because if someone calls and asks someone who is an admin about a question and they can pull up that donor report and answer
Yeah.
accurately, or fend that off to the right person, it goes a huge way in instilling donor confidence. And that's what technology should do, is it should help build your donor confidence by making sure there are not gaps that you are missing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then I know we just got another quick question saying it's tough trying to get leadership to keep a timeline or review donor plans and take action. Yep. I'm in my position less than a year and trying to develop my own relationships with donors. Um, this actually relates very clearly back to tech, right? And there's sometimes that same ideology of really intentional strategy, right?
Hmm.
So once a year, you write your fundraising plan. You look at your portfolios, you assess who should be in them, you set your goals, X, Y, and Z. Understand that within the first quarter, that fundraising plan is going to change. But if you have a barometer that you're all aligned on the same page at one point in the year, it does kind of help keep on track, and
Hmm.
also what you're providing as output during the rest of that year. I would also make sure leadership is always trying to help transfer relationships over to you, or at least provide introductions along the way. And again, if it's all logged in the CRM about the last time there was a touch point, the last person that they connected with, it will help facilitate those conversations.
Yep. And Evan, I love this strategy, again, utilizing the database and technology is I really like that prospect manager one, prospect manager two type of
Mhm.
assignment, right? Where the primary prospect manager is developing the strategy and driving the relationship forward, but the secondary is sort of a key partner in that process. Who do you, right? Who's managing the project per se? Who's
Right.
managing the relationship? But, who is key to achieving your desired outcome, right? And are you partnering with that person strategically? So just yet another way that we can really be utilizing the CRM and technology to really effectively strategize and execute on those really important relationships. And of course, we are talking about people here. We are talking about people, but when you take sort of a project management sort of approach by using tools, and you're layering on personalized strategy, right? We're really just talking about the tools behind the success of really intentional relationship building is really. And Evan, also, I think really a key component in my experience, I'm certain in your experience as well, is really ensuring the team is playing from the same playbook. And that is language that I used last week with Cassie. But again, when it comes to the CRM, when it comes to technology, when it comes to definition, and does everyone have the same understanding of what we're
Mhm.
doing, right? Portfolio discipline overall and strategy is far more valuable when the whole team is using the same criteria, right? And again, this could apply across the board from the top down and from the bottom up. Leaders can compare portfolios, they can spot bottlenecks, they can coach across the team. Colleagues can cover relationships without having to decode another person's private systems.
Yep.
So really just thinking about it from that perspective is and even with MGOB and the lessons that we'll be teaching and coaching to the teams, whether you have one person registered or a full team, the key objective here is to take away the lessons learned and the strategies and the tools and apply them organization wide, development team wide. Um,
Absolutely.
Evan, I feel like you were telling me a story recently about a former training program client who really saw great success sort of in this vein of portfolio management. Is that right?
Absolutely. We had someone who was participated in one of our training programs and has also become a client of ours. And they recently shared that the organization just passed the $5.2 million mark in a $6 million capital campaign.
Oh,
And
yes.
that's, of course, we have been celebrating for a while, but it's also, we've talked a lot about how the tools and strategies from the training that we have done has not only turned their portfolio management into something that is feels more manageable, feels like they're much more in control about what's going on, and also able to predict more about timing of major gifts and also what the gift ranges may be, but also that the whole team has really been affected and grown in this and learning together. A really a major gift is going to affect your entire team. Everyone's
Mhm.
going to be involved with any major gift that has ever come in at any point. Everyone's going to have a little part to play. And so when the entire team is learning, it is a rising tide for that ship. And so that's why portfolio management can start off a little bit scary, but then once you get a system in place, it moves on its own and it flows on its own and it becomes something that's part of your everyday and not something that scares you off.
I love that. I love that. And Evan, oh my gosh, the words that you're using, I can't help but preview to everybody that next week we're going to have Gail Perry, founder of Gail Perry Group, with us for our session. And Gail is really speaking to the point that you just made, Evan, which is, is a major gifts program, is a development program successful when you've got a superstar on the team? Or when it's a full team effort, it's a full team strategy, it's a full team process, right? That kind of a thing. So that goes to your point a little bit too. Um, but generally, I mean, I know you and I could sit here for another 30, 40, 3 hours, right? We could sit here forever. We love this stuff, and this is what we love to talk about clearly. But Evan, we're going to have another shot at doing this together when MGOB begins. So again, for everyone who's here today, for everyone at the beginning of the call, I'm going to repeat myself. This is a 12-week virtual training program. It begins on Wednesday, September 16th, runs through Wednesday, December 9th. The program occurs virtually on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And each session runs for 75 minutes. Within the 12 weeks, we have 9 weeks of content that will be delivered in part with Evan here. So thank you, Evan. As well as 3 weeks of coaching cohorts. Again, we'll have a cohort working with Evan directly. So pleased to introduce you, Evan, to our audience today, to our prospective participants. If anyone who's listening would like more information about MGOB, you can reach us directly at coaching@gailperrygroup.com, or you can go to our website, gailperrygroup.com/major-gift-officer-training. Major gift officer training with hyphens in between each word. So thank you for being here today, Evan. Any final thoughts as we don't want to give away everything today. We've got a lot to cover still, but any final thoughts?
We're here to help you figure out how to make your daily life work a little bit better for you and the organizations that you serve. So let us know how we can help, and we're looking forward to getting the program started.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you, Evan. Thank you for your time. So good. Thank you all for being here today. And we'll see you again next week. We'll see you next week with Gail Perry, session number 3 of our MGOB LinkedIn Live